So I had the opportunity to see Paul Simon in concert at the Ryman Auditorium in Nashville a few years ago, and I gotta say, it was a spectacular show, and the sound was stunning. The band is huge. How many people are in the band?
At least 17 at that performance.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I could distinctively hear each person on stage, and the balance was immaculate, and Paul Simon's vocal was just stunningly good. What mics do you use on his vocal?
A 58. There's nothing exotic there on his vocal.
Just a standard
SM58. I get asked all the time what condenser's up there. It's a straight up 58.
Oh, that's
the
amazing.
only thing exotic about it is we put a black ball on it. That's it. Nothing
nice.
else. Yeah.
And what do you do on the console? On
the console itself, I carry hardware most of the time. And so I use a Pultec EQ1, and then I also use a TLA 100 leveling amplifier. But when we're not on tour and I go do broadcast gigs or anything else with Paul, I use the Yamaha stuff for with the same results. And in that case, I use the EQ1A to accomplish what I did with the Pultec, and then I use to replace the TLA 100 leveling amplifier, I use the Opt2A available here in the Yamaha. And honestly, it's very difficult to discern the difference between the hardware and what I use there.
Yeah,
so it's
those plugins are both really good.
Really good stuff.
And are you compressing quite a bit, or?
Well, you know, it's a feel thing. The thing with the hardware is you can't really pay attention to the meter on that unit. You're listening to the unit because it depends on how hard you drive it, and none of them are calibrated to match each other. So I could get a rack of TLA 100s, and none of them are going to perform exactly the same if we were just trying to match knobs and meter position. You have to listen to them. And so I found it's very similar on the desk. The difference being, though, that this will perform the same no matter what. If I actually have to order the hardware, for a one-off, it can be very aggravating because I have to order 5 units to get one that sounds right, whereas this always sounds right. So
exactly the same every single time.
Exactly.
So, and are you spending a lot of time writing his vocal too, or does it usually sit pretty well?
I ride the vocal a lot. In the beginning, when I was getting, I guess, familiarized with the catalog, I did not ride the vocal as much. You know, you have to. After working with the artist for a long time, you're singing along with them, so you can ride it really well. It just adds a final touch to something that you're trying to control like that. It's really helpful to be familiar with the material, but it's something, you know, it takes a time. You can't just expect to go mix a guy and in the first pass through you're riding his vocal perfectly and you know exactly how that person's going to deliver this particular note or word, or, you know, it just doesn't happen.
And is he pretty consistent from night to night, or do you notice some nights he's giving you more than he is other nights? Or?
He's very consistent on output, extremely consistent. Yeah, there's not much changed. I mean, the only time you have an issue is when you have an issue with any other artist. They're under the weather, or, you know, or maybe went 4 nights in a row and they should have done 3, but that's it. But otherwise, it's the same thing every night. It's one of my most stable inputs on the desk, which, thank goodness, because that's pretty critical that you hear every word that he says, and it's really one of the more stable inputs. So.
Well, fantastic.
Mm-hmm.